My wife is cooking in the kitchen, and I thought I'd tell you about a Xi'an noodle restaurant in Chengdu. We lived in Chengdu in an apartment in the downtown area near the First Ring Road, and it was a few blocks away from the Sichuan University. So we'd go down the street regularly beside our apartment, and one day we went down the street and saw this small noodle shop, and it was advertised as a Xi'an noodle shop. And it was full of students, and as we learned, the students used that during the summertime, during summer vacation, as almost the same as a student cafeteria. It was so popular. And it had only opened in the summer months when people were going there in droves. Okay. One day we walked down and it was fairly empty, not too many people, so we said, oh, let's try it out. So my wife and I went into this Xi'an noodle shop. And my wife is from Chengdu and I'm from Canada, so we walked into the shop, and immediately there was three guys in the back. Two young guys noticed us, and right away they stared at me, and I'm used to this, so I ignored it because, foreigners in China are often looked at, and people are curious about foreigners, but they're very hospitable, and these guys were no different. They were friendly and curious. So we sat at this counter. Now, the counter was a long counter against one wall with about 6 tall stools. And on the other side was a big plate glass window and a big window and door at the front. That's all it was. And right behind the counter, about 2 meters away, was the kitchen area. That's where these two guys were, joking, laughing, talking loudly amongst each other. And we sat at the counter, ordered some Xi'an noodles. And there was a third guy there. He was about in his 30s, and he was the boss and doing the cooking. Now, if you know Xi'an noodles, they're a stretched and pulled wheat noodle that's very popular and came from Xi'an. Some people in the West would say it's a Japanese pulled noodle. Sometimes they're known for different things or different names. Xi'an is also famous for its terracotta warriors from an ancient emperor's dynasty in China. These Xi'an noodles are apparently very good. So my wife and I went in there, had a look, and had a seat. At the stove, it was a very big stove with a hot gas flame. The boss had a tall silver pot full of boiling water, and it was very hot and boiling furiously with steam and everything. And beside that was also a pot of oil and spices. These two young guys are talking away and joking amongst themselves, and this boss is pulling these noodles, stretching them back and forth and everything. Then he puts them into this hot water with a splash, and it starts boiling furiously, blah, 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 and steam is coming out, and it's very interesting and exciting looking. And then he boils that for just a very short period of time. Then he takes the noodles out and he puts them into this big bowl. Now this bowl, let me describe to you. It's a big white bowl that I could put my head into. That's how big it is. Now normally this is one order for one person, but it's so big that my wife and I ordered it to share between us. The boss takes the noodles and puts them into this big bowl. Immediately he takes a ladle and takes a whole scoop of the ladle full of the hot pepper oil, and it's boiling as well. So he puts that immediately onto the hot noodles, and because oil and water don't mix, it makes a big sound. All the steam and fragrance of the oil and the spices and with the noodles fills the air in the restaurant, and you could smell it and almost taste it. And it didn't even come to our counter yet. Of course, these two guys, they're still talking away, and the boss is making these noodles. And the boss asks the guys to bring the noodles to us, and he slides the noodles onto our counter. And of course, nobody speaks English, but they're very friendly, give us chopsticks, and we start to enjoy the noodles, and it's just really fantastic. It's a flavor that you can't imagine. It's very fragrant, but hot and spicy and delicious. The noodles are really amazing. So we finished our noodles and we left, and we thought, wow, this is Xi'an noodles. Now we know. So a few days later, or maybe less than a week, we come back and the restaurant is gone. It had only been there for a few months over the summer, and it was replaced by some other restaurant of something else, and nobody else was there as far as the students. And we had just been there in time to catch the Xi'an noodles once at that shop. Very special. I've never been to Xi'an, and my wife and I definitely want to go there, even just for the noodles. It was an experience in Chengdu. Foodie heaven, definitely. Oh, my wife is finishing cooking. I'm going to go and eat now. Oh, bye.